All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Early Morning Crypto Talk. Bitcoin Brandon from Los Angeles, California. Another sleepless night. God is good. Go ahead, type in the chat box where you're listening in from. Nafula, North Carolina. Elvis Lofties, Corpus Christi, Texas. Rohan Johnson, the ATL. My cousin Marnita from Colorado. Bethany Gibbs, Seattle. Brian Roberts, Severna Park, Maryland today. What are you out there moving around, Brian? Everybody's supposed to be like quarantined or something. Jacqueline from Maryland. Facebook won't allow me to connect this morning. I've been trying for like 30 minutes, so we got to go with YouTube Live. Make sure you hit the thumbs up in the chat box or on the underneath the video. As a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share a suggestion, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move to. Superstar Philip from South Africa. Philip, send me a private message. I've got information I need to send to you. That's all I can say right now. You've been working out of doctor's offices, Brian? Gotcha. There's 4 rules I live by in the crypto space to have success. Rule number 1, education is key. Education is everything. Rule number 2, never invest money you cannot afford to lose. Rule number 3, always get a return on investments back as fast as possible. And rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What are you willing to do to make that happen? Make a decision, take action, stay focused, do not get distracted. Now, following these rules is not going to guarantee you success, but it will at least minimize your risk. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most that we can ask for. Today is Friday. It's one of my off days. I don't do any presentations, but I will be doing a lot of private phone calls today. It is going to get crazy next week. I mean, there's going to be a major announcement from the CEO of Up to Give. There's going to be enhancements, as we've always been talking about. And all I can say is, if they had this in pre-launch, we'd have 100,000 plus people in Up to Give right now. It is that big. If we had this in pre-launch, we'd have more than 100,000 people in the system right now. So what's going to happen over the next 60 days when word starts to get out? I'm not even concerned about those who came from the beginning. All right, let me get off of that because I might say something I'm not supposed to. Let's look at the crypto market cap. All right, we've got the market cap's at 190 billion. It is up 2.3% over the last 24 hours. It's a good sign. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.2%, Ethereum 8.22. So Ethereum dropped almost 2% because it was at 1.10%, and Ripple's about the same. So technically, Bitcoin last 24 hours is sitting at 0%. Flatline. The last hour, the market has turned red, but Tether's also 0.5% in the negative side, which means I should start seeing this slow down a bit, going back to the green. And also next week, those of you in Coinbit Pro, I got to look at what schedule. I have to pick a day. I'm going to start doing the once a week live training on trading again for my organization only in Coinbit Pro. So that's going to start up again, crypto education next week. I might have to do it probably on Wednesday. Thursdays are my busiest days, so I might do it on Wednesday. So just keep a heads up. I'll let you guys know about that, and you let your team to know. So we're getting close to the Bitcoin halving, and we got to really look at the charts and see what's about to happen and how we can take advantage of it. All right, so it's not much to see here. I'll look at this again at the end of this crypto talk. Let's go into some news. Bitcoin's first quarter performance tops Dow Jones and S&P 500. See what this says here. Bitcoin is trading at $6,746, up 7.6% in the past 24 hours, rising 9% at the start of the second quarter. While the stock market continues to struggle, reeling from the Dow's historic 23% decline, the S&P 500's 20% plunge, and the Nasdaq's 14% dip in the first quarter, Bitcoin posted a 10% drop over the first 3 months of 2020. While performing notably better than equities, Bitcoin failed to live up to the expectations that the leading cryptocurrency is a clear, safe haven asset. Instead, the market turbulence due to the pandemic was widespread. Gold, however, maintained a significant edge, up nearly 4% in the first quarter as investors looked for traditional safe haven assets. Analysts expect the coronavirus outbreak to inflict a long-lasting blow to the U.S. economy, which is already threatening to post its highest unemployment figures since the Great Depression. Talk about living in historic times. Any of you alive during the Great Depression? Only one I know of is my grandmother. She's 96 years old. She was born in the 20s. She remembers the Great Depression, but she was dirt poor living in Shreveport, Louisiana. My grandmother, that's also My cousin Marnita's grandmother, they were sisters. They lived and grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana. And they farmed. I asked my grandma, I did when I was in college doing my master's in education, and I was doing a report on that era, the Great Depression era. The Dust Bowl was the real topic and how it was affecting American children. And I decided to interview my grandmother and asked her about what was life like during the Great Depression. And the first thing she said was, we didn't know that there was a Great Depression. And I had to think about that for a second, because now when we look at history, we can look at that time period and know, and it's called the Great Depression. They didn't call it that at that time period. They just came out of the roaring 20s, right after World War I and the Spanish flu epidemic, which took more lives in the war. But the roaring 20s took place. But for my grandmother, there was no such thing as roaring 20s for her. African Americans, sharecroppers, 1920s. We are only, 60 years removed from slavery. My grandmother's grandfather was the first born free, and she remembers her people think slavery didn't happen that long ago. Right. My grandmother knows, the stories. They were still alive. But she said that because they were so poor, they didn't have money to invest in the stock market, so they didn't experience the roaring 20s. And then when the Great Depression hit, they didn't lose any money in the stock market. They were already being discriminated against, so they weren't allowed to shop in certain stores because it was white only. They weren't allowed to have those jobs because it was white only. So they farmed and made their own food. So when the Great Depression hit, life was no different for them. In fact, she laughed and said that the white folks in town would come through their farms to buy food because the deliveries weren't happening for the grocery stores. Very interesting. Imagine the times we're living in right now. Our grandchildren will be asking us, so this will be written in history books. I wonder what they're going to call it. They called that the Great Depression of the 30s. Then we've got the Great Recession of the 2008. I wonder what they're going to call this period. Or they may say that this entire period lasted from 2008 to now as one whole period. Only history will tell, but our grandchildren will ask us, hey, what was life like? You know what? They won't even need to ask us because this is the internet and blockchain generation. Everything we do is being recorded. They can listen to their great-grandpa, Bitcoin Brandon's recordings. I've got, thousands and thousands of videos since 2000, when I started doing this, 2009. Crypto talk every day for the last 3 years, 2.5 years now. It'll be 3 years in August. So they've got a wealth of information that they don't need to read from the history books written by somebody else. Your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will be able to see and hear directly from you whatever you were posting on social media during this time. I find that fascinating. All right, I got off track on that one. So let's continue. We have not gone through this since the Great Depression. Nearly 10 million workers have filed for first-time unemployment benefits in a 2-week span. You think things are bad right now, you haven't seen nothing yet. Wait till the 15th and the first roll around, when normally you would have your checks coming through and you don't get paid. Remember the government shut down last year, January of 2019, I think it was. And All of those federal employees that couldn't get a paycheck and they missed 1 month of paycheck, all hell was breaking loose. And we couldn't let them go 2 months without a paycheck. We don't know how long this coronavirus thing's going to last. They just canceled school for the rest of the calendar year. So this might roll into July, and we're only at the beginning of April. So you got to figure out your finances for April, May, and June. You've got to figure out the next 90 days how to cover. The government's going to send you a stimulus check one time, $2,400 for a couple. Will $2,400 last you for the next 90 days? I don't trust on any of that. You got to have a plan B. So anyways, let's see, 10 million American workers have filed for first-time unemployment. Economists at the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis project an unemployment rate of 32%. 32%. In the Great Depression, it was 25%. 32%? With the loss of 47 million jobs, along with 67 million Americans who are currently at high risk for layoffs. So we already lost 47 million jobs and are going to lose another 67 million. In a research report posted last week, St. Louis Fed economist Miguel Faria E. Castro writes, moreover, one can argue that the expected duration of unemployment matters more than the unemployment rate itself, especially if the recovery is quick and so duration is short. These are very large numbers by historical standards. But this is a rather unique shock that is unlike any other experience by the U.S. economy in the last 100 years. We better start taking this seriously. This is going to be my quote for today. Let me make sure I save that. I had to have a talk with my parents because my parents, they don't fully get this either. Good thing my dad's retired. He's got his pension and all that. But my dad's an extrovert. And he likes to be out and about. He likes to be doing something. He likes to be in the community. He ran for the council member for the city we live in. They want him to run for mayor. You know, he's on a bunch of boards. He's always doing something. But because of his age, he's 68, he's at risk. So him and my mom, I've got them in quarantine, and I take them groceries, drop it off at the front. You know, I got to stay socially isolated from them because we don't know how many people are carriers and never develop any symptoms. But we can pass it on to the older generation. And they were giving me their shopping list, and they got stuff down like we're just having a Sunday picnic. Like the other day, he wanted to do a tailgate party with his friends at one of his friends' restaurants. He's like, oh, don't worry, we're not going to get out of our cars or anything. We're going to hang out, have some beers. Like, Dad, this is serious. This isn't a camping trip. This isn't a 1 to 2 week just discomfort. And nothing's going to go back to normal again. And when the body count starts adding up, yesterday we had the highest single death day rate because everybody wants to run their mouth. Oh, well, the flu kills more people. Yeah, have you ever heard what compounding is? Coronavirus says, hold my beer and wait 3 months. And then let's look at the numbers. The day before that, it was 800 something died in one day. That was the record day. I haven't looked at the news because yesterday was 900 something. The day before that was 800 or something. Let me, on my other TV here, I'll have it on mute, but I could see what's going on and what the new numbers are. All right. Governor Cuomo's talking right now. 562 people died in the last 24 hours biggest single day increase. Is that in just New York or is that nationwide? Those of you that might have been paying attention to the news, 562 people died in the last 24 hours. You're going to start hearing people you know directly that's being infected. You guys know Linda Gallardo. Her family's being directly impacted. I have a family friend, and I can't talk about it, but also that passed away. So we're all going to be impacted by one way or another. This is serious. Now, governments in uncharted territory, never happened before, have been taking extreme measures to combat COVID-19, restricting movements, issuing lockdowns, and pledging stimulus packages that are designed to keep corporations, small businesses, and individuals afloat. Now, let's talk about real extreme. What do you think they're doing in North Korea and in the Philippines? The Philippine president said, anybody caught breaking curfew and quarantine will be shot. North Korea, you wonder why you're not hearing any numbers out of there? They're shooting people on the spot in North Korea. Don't cough around anybody in North Korea. You're gonna get shot. This is no joke. David Wessel, director of the Hutchins Center on Fiscal and Monetary Policy at the Brookings Institution, tells CNN, I have no doubt the recession will be shorter and shallower, and the recovery stronger than they would have been without these measures. But we're still going to have a deep recession, and a lot of people will get hurt economically. And unless all the virus disappears with unanticipated speed, Congress probably will need to do more. I agree that Congress is going to end up doing more. There'll be another stimulus package that will come up probably around June, end of May. They'll start talking about it mid-May as more people die and more people are laid off and people are screaming about not having food. They'll start talking about it again. But this is really uncharted territory. Now, here's something else I'll also say. What's different between this and 2008 and the Great Depression is that this did not happen by normal economic means. The economy was booming. We had the lowest unemployment rate in decades. So the economy was humming along. Now, yeah, there were signals that things can't just keep going up, that there was going to be a slowdown eventually and a recession. But this is forced. We shut this thing down. So the good news about that is that when we turn the engine back on, we should recover fairly quickly. That's the good news. It wasn't stopped by natural economic means. So the engine should purr up real fast, and we should get back to where we were in record time. I do agree with that. The only thing is we don't know how long this is going to last before we can get there. So we've got to figure out how to make sure we survive until that time period. All right, next article up. Billionaire crypto investor Tim Draper says $250,000 Bitcoin. Oh, man, I was supposed to save that article. That was going to be my quote for the day. So let me go back and get it. Where was it? Yeah, this one. Yeah, that's my quote for today. Well, I'm telling people you need to have a plan B. Okay, billionaire crypto investor Tim Draper says $250,000 Bitcoin forecast on track. Okay, you guys, we're going to go dream mode again. Dream mode, recovery unlikely. What recovery? Warns V-shaped stock market recovery unlikely. Bitcoin topped $10,000 in February before dropping below $4,000 last month. As investors in the financial markets reacted to the coronavirus pandemic, despite the plunge in ongoing macroeconomic turmoil, billionaire investor Tim Draper remains bullish on the leading cryptocurrency. In an interview with Chinese outlet BitPush, Draper, who runs venture capital firm Draper Fisher Jurvetson, warns that prolonged isolation due to widespread lockdown threatens to aggravate the disease-induced financial crisis. I like that term. That's the term you want to remember. Disease-induced financial crisis. So once the disease part is gone, the financial market should recover. He also shares his thoughts on the projected V-shaped economic recovery, which would see the United States making a quick rebound from its current slump. If the government continues to keep people isolated at home for another 2 weeks, and right now, the president should shut down the entire country. Shut it down for 2 weeks. And then let's see where we're at that point. Not this peacemake, this state here, then this state there, then this state. We're playing catch up, and we're never going to catch up to it. Shut the whole thing down. For investors navigating the volatile equities markets, Draper believes it's not the best time to buy U.S. stocks. But that's not his position on Bitcoin. The billionaire says he stands behind his long-term standing prediction that the King coin is on track to reach $250,000 by 2022 or early 2023, despite the Black Swan pandemic that crashed the markets. Okay, he gave a timetable. Let's play with the numbers. Where's my calculator? Hey, what's going on? Okay, let's play with the numbers here. If you were to have your hands on $10,000 and you decided you're going to put it in Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin is $6,700. So how much would you have? Let's see. $10,000 divided by 6,778. That leaves you with 1.4. Let's just round it up to 1.5 Bitcoin. 1.5 Bitcoin worth $6,778. Now, what would that be worth by 2023? If you do absolutely nothing, you keep this in a cold storage somewhere, you forget you even have it, but you've got your hands on 1.47 Bitcoin, and one day this thing is worth $250,000 a coin. Times $250,000 a coin. By 2023, that's worth $368,000 worth. Your $10,000 investment today, 3 years from now. Is that a good investment? Yeah, it's like buying a house, flipping it, letting it grow. But what if you had your hands on 10 Bitcoin? 10 Bitcoin at today's price is worth $67,800. 10 Bitcoin. And then 3 years from now, it's worth $250,000 a coin. That's $2.5 million. Now let's play the numbers game here. Let's say there is no coronavirus, you didn't lose your job, and you're still making $75,000 a year. $75,000 a year. And let's say the government says, we're not going to tax you on it. You get to keep all of that. And you're able to do it for 25 years, and you're not going to get fired or laid off. Talk about 100% security, 100% guarantee. This is what you're going to have every year, $75,000. Now, the average household in America of a family of four earns about $33,000 a year. So you're already doing double, more than double what the average American household is doing, and you don't have to pay taxes on it. Let's multiply that times 25 years. How old will you be 25 years from now? I will be 68, 25 years from now. That's $1.875 million that you've earned over the next 25 years if you don't have to pay taxes. The government lets you keep it all. That means every single dime you're going to spend over the next 25 years is going to come out of this number. 25 years. If you live that long, God willing, you will. There's no accidents or health issues or anything like that. But all weddings, medical, debt, house, mortgage, kids going through school, helping, sometimes your family needs a little bit of help and you've got some extra resources. You know how it is. Now, you put your head down and go to work in a vehicle, and you're able to accumulate 10 Bitcoin. And in 3 years, it's worth $250,000 a coin. That's $2.5 million worth over the next 3 years. Which one's better? I'm just saying, which one's better? I can say this. With the new announcements that's coming up, let me play with some numbers here. 6. Let's just say, if you put your head down and go to work this year to have enough money to afford 10 Bitcoin, and then you sit on it, would that be worth it? Yeah, I can't answer that for you. Only you can answer it for yourself. Let's continue. So, while crypto users anticipate that the Bitcoin halving in May to limit the supply of new Bitcoin and drive a bull run, Draper says the event is just half of the story. If the U.S. dollar depreciates because of large-scale printing of money, which the United States is doing right now, and people know that gold is no longer worth buying, now stop right there. Why would gold be no longer worth buying? He's got to explain himself on that one, because I don't agree with that. Gold will always be worth buying. That's never going to change. It hasn't changed since the beginning of time. Then Bitcoin is a safe haven. That part is true. The crypto investor likewise sees a silver lining in the current situation. During a bull market, Draper argues people are not typically open to change. But the current pandemic is driving a shift in habits as people look for better, cheaper, and faster alternatives in banking, healthcare, and other industries. He believes the crisis could trigger the adoption of new technologies such as blockchain, smart contracts, and Bitcoin. I agree with that. Once people realize that the government is saving the market by devaluing fiat currencies, they will begin to accept the use of Bitcoin. People will realize that Bitcoin is more open, transparent, smoother, more valuable, and more replaceable than the US dollar, peso, naira, or drachma. This is also going to be a quote I'll use later today. It's 100% true. All right, next one up. Crypto analysts predict imminent Bitcoin rally. Here's why a brutal breakdown may follow. Good morning, Michelle. Crypto trader and technical analyst Tony Day says he's bullish on Bitcoin as the halving approaches. How many days do we have left for the halving? 40 days left. 40 days left. May 13th, 2020. Ooh. That's an interesting date. On a new episode of Trading Bitcoin, Day says Bitcoin's current price action may be similar to what happened back in August of 2015. I was not in crypto then. And Bitcoin dropped to $207 before beginning a long-term rally. Now, what is he talking about? Bitcoin had dropped. See, at one point, Bitcoin did reach over $1,000. And then it dropped to $207. Before beginning a long-term rally that peaked years later, with the leading crypto reaching its all-time high of around $20,000 a coin. Put yourselves back in time in the early days of crypto. Go back to 2011 to 2014 or 15. Would you have believed that somebody said Bitcoin is going to be worth $20,000 one day? Those guys back then, they were happy when it got to $100. $500, they were losing their minds. Bitcoin is worth $500. What if you told them it was going to be worth $20,000? Day says he was surprised by Thursday's rally, which brought Bitcoin from 6214 to a high of 7,040. At this point, Day says over the next 2 months, the key is to track whether the price of Bitcoin can move above its 200-day moving average, which is currently at about $8,000. Let's see what happens in about 2 months. And guess what else is going to happen in those 2 months? The halving. We just have to get over this 200-day moving average. So I remain pretty bullish on Bitcoin here. I would not have expected Thursday's bounce. I really would have thought that we had more downside here and then bounce somewhere from that $6,000 area. But we bounced a little earlier, which is good. I agree. I thought that this thing was going to go back down into the $5,000, below $5,500 range. And I was wrong. I bet on Tether and I lost, and it went up. So I lost money on that. I agree with him. I was surprised. Meanwhile, veteran technical trader Peter Brandt says he sees the potential for more upside on the horizon. Brandt says Bitcoin is likely in an ascending triangle that could bring the leading crypto to $8,400 in the short term. Okay? It's just a matter of, let me look at what he's talking about. Let's see his chart. All right. We started from March 3rd to April 3rd. Then we've got this chart here. This price was a little over 5,000 to 66.81. So this is what he's talking about. We're seeing, even though it hit here and came down, came up and came down, over time, you're seeing a trend. Every bounce is smaller. And so when they talk about their 200-day moving average, they're looking at around here, 8,000. So they expect this to continue to go up to the $8,000 mark, and then we hit another wall. All right. Just a matter of perspective, but best classical chart labeling, likely an ascending triangle with target at 8,400. So this guy's, Peter Brandt's target, so Raoul Paul has it at 8,000. Peter Brandt's got it at 8,400. See how his chart's looking like. When did he start his? This is why it's important, guys. Crypto education is important, to learn how to read the charts. Okay. He's got April 2nd. Start here from 4,000, but that is All right. October 16th, 2019 to April 2nd, 2020. But it's the same chart as here. All right. Same triangle, but his target is right here. Right around there, 8,400, 8,466 is his target. Okay. A prominent trader who predicted Bitcoin's recent drop below 6,000 agrees that Bitcoin may soon break above the $8,000 mark. But the analyst who goes by the name Pintar Udi also believes the global economic turmoil will likely hit the price of Bitcoin hard, once again bringing Bitcoin below 3,000. So this is the conundrum. Before I knew coronavirus was going to be what it is right now, back in January, I was saying that there's going to be a run-up to Bitcoin as we get closer to the halving because of hype. People know what happened the last two times Bitcoin halved. So because of hype, the price is going to rise up, and then it's going to tumble about a month later when all the whales sell and cause a panic sell. And then it's going to slowly rise and take off the rocket ship in 2021. But now we've got coronavirus that, according to this guy, he's talking about coronavirus is going to make Bitcoin take a hit, a hard hit. So we're going to have coronavirus trying to force the price down while the people are hyping Bitcoin to force the price up. So where's that medium going to be? I don't have an answer for this one. All I can do is wait and see and just keep watching the market. Amid of global financial panic, Bitcoin price, and guys, just watch who you're listening to. There's a lot of so-called experts out there that make big and bold predictions. And they also never admit when they're wrong, and they never admit when they don't know something. I have no problem admitting if I don't know something. Like I'm looking at this right now, I don't know. I cannot predict which way this is going to go. If I eliminate coronavirus, I have a pretty good idea of exactly what's going to go down. But because of coronavirus, it's throwing that monkey wrench in the equation. So I just don't know what's going to happen. You're going to be having to take a risk. So anyways, amid the global financial panic, Bitcoin price aggressively attacks weekly SMA 200 and bottom triangle line of previous chart. I see this might not end as well as I thought, as bearish potential of global markets is huge. I got a bearish target between oh hell no, $1,800 and $2,500. That ain't happening. In this case, weekly 200 SMA will be broken and become resistance. Many times, and the force will require to break it up and make it support. So he's got it. Wait, what years? Okay, he's going by 2017 and all the way to where we are right now, 2020, $4,000 range. I do not agree with this. He's got this sucker going below $2,500. I do not agree with that. It could happen. If it does, I'm buying up like there's no freaking tomorrow. At time of publishing, Bitcoin is up 2.74% at 67.91, according to CoinMarketCap, which, by the way, was bought by Binance. So which means I have even less trust in CoinMarketCap. Stick with CoinGecko. All right, was there any quotes I wanted to take out of this? No. Last article up. CoinShares strategist Meltem Demirors issues warning about digital dollar. It's everything Bitcoin is not. That's true. But the masses don't know. Crypto education is important. Know the difference. I think as last week I did a crypto talk where I shared what's the difference between digital coin and crypto. So digital currencies are a very mixed bag. And according to Meltem Demirors, the chief strategy officer at CoinShares, a digital dollar is not what crypto enthusiasts think it is. Unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other decentralized cryptocurrencies, a digital dollar would be effectively controlled by the government and will require users to connect their bank accounts to a platform that is owned and operated by the central bank. You guys get that? What do you hear me say whenever I do an Up to Give presentation and I talk about how are we compliant? And I say because Up to Give does not touch any of your Bitcoin. Bitcoin is peer-to-peer. Why? Because it's not controlled by a government, a business, a CEO, or a bank. A digital dollar is. By linking the central bank to users through a digital dollar, offering the convenience of a cashless society that can process and settle transactions instantly. It sounds good. It sounds convenient. Revelations, end times, that's all I'm saying. You cannot buy or sell without the mark. But it can settle transactions instantaneously. Demers argues in a tweet storm posted on Thursday that the government would have a direct pipeline to personal and private financial data. That is not good. See, at least with cash, the government can't confiscate it if they don't know where it is. You're like a pirate, you buried in the backyard. But if you go completely digital with your cash, the government can freeze your account, block your access to it whenever they feel like it. You guys understand the difference? They can't do that with Bitcoin. So, to all the crypto people obsessing over the recent news of a digital dollar, it's terrifying and is basically the opposite of what crypto is all about. Systemic hedge, self-sovereign, etc. What they're talking about is similar to what Sweden has done. Only 13% of people in Sweden use cash on a weekly basis. By contrast, 70% of Americans use cash on a weekly basis. Really? How many of you guys are still using cash? I don't. I only use a debit or credit card. And then I pay it off. I carry cash on me just to have it, for parking, tips, things like that. But I think that's a high number. 70% of Americans are still using cash. Why the difference? Sweden has great connectivity infrastructure, broadband, small population under 10 million, meaning LA is bigger than Sweden. Sorry, my guys in Sweden. And a legacy of adopting new technology. Most Swedes are using a payment app called Swish to pay for things. It's basically like Venmo and allows free and instant transfers. All you need is a phone number, but you still need a bank account to connect it to. And to have a bank account, you need an identity. So anyone who wants to be part of the digital economy has to A, link their national ID to their bank account, B, link their bank account to their app, and C, link their app to their mobile phone number. That's it. That's going to happen here too. So in those 3 steps, you've basically given the state access to your finances. Despite being able to leverage technology to power fast transactions, Demers argues that government-backed platforms with overarching access are trending more 1984 than Brave New World. You guys seen that movie, 1984? Now, who owns Swish? Why? A consortium of all the Swedish banks. And what powers the back end of Swish? Why? A citizen identification solution called Bank ID. And who owns Bank ID? Why? A consortium of all of the Swedish banks. It's just another form of control. That's it. Last month, a proposal for a digital dollar made its way into an early draft of a relief bill introduced by House Democrats to send emergency funds swiftly to U.S. residents via a digital wallet, mitigating the economic meltdown and soaring unemployment due to the coronavirus outbreak. Although the measure was scrapped, the nomenclature was close enough to the verbiage used in Bitcoin and crypto circles where proponents are pushing for mainstream adoption of digital wallets and digital currencies that can operate without middlemen. But the mirrors clarifies that they are entirely different instruments with different objectives. That's true. So pay close attention to this. The digital dollar is being touted has nothing to do with the blockchains, cryptocurrencies, or anything remotely related. It's about linking your bank account directly to a federal agency so they can move zeros and ones in their database. And when you do that, they have basically completed the loop for the government, eliminating the need to go through intermediaries to get your data by tying what people need, economic relief, to what the government wants, access to your bank account. So you kill two birds with one stone. So yeah, that's kind of the opposite. We are entering an era of unprecedented government surveillance, all implemented in the name of emergency relief. So those of you that's been listening to me for a while, from the very beginning I stated that we will have a digital dollar, the world will go digital. But how can they force this upon the population? What did I say back then? There needs to be a worldwide global crisis or World War III. Worldwide global financial crisis or World War III. So that that will force the people to not only accept this, but demand it. Because they want to save their finances. We've got a global economic shutdown, and you run to the banks, and there's no cash in the ATM machines, and there's locks on the bank door. The people are going to be screaming for a solution. Government, come save us. The government's going to say, great, we have a plan. We're just going to go cashless, and we will match all your money in your current bank accounts right now. We're just going to transfer it to the digital dollar, and we'll give you a debit card that's backed by the federal government, and you can continue to shop and buy things with the digital dollar. And all the masses are going to say, yay, thank you for saving us. Not realizing that they just fell for the okie doke. Gave up all their stuff to the government. Just like generations before fell for the okie doke, giving the government all of their gold in exchange for a gold-backed note. And then 50 years later, 1971, they move us off the gold standard. So now you're just left with a paper note that's not worth more than toilet paper. This is the okie doke, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe, yes, I will save this quote. This is an important quote for people to understand. All right, and that is it for Crypto Talk this morning. This is Friday, so I have no presentations or anything going on. I do have a whole bunch of one-on-ones I got to do today. The next presentation that I do will be tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and then again at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So the international one tomorrow. And then leadership call on Sunday, presentation Sunday night. And then I guess got to be in wait mode for corporate and our CEO, Jerry Lopez, to make an announcement. That's all I can do. And once that happens, it's just game over. That's all I can say. I wish we had this in December, because if we did, we would have 100,000 plus people in the system right now. Those members that have moved on, the only reason why they will not engage is pride. But damn pride. We got coronavirus here, and people are losing their jobs. People need help. People need a plan B. We got an answer for that. So I'm so excited. I haven't been able to sleep again with this. So with that, thank you guys for listening this morning. I hope you have a great day, great weekend. Stay safe. Stay praying. See you all tomorrow. God bless. Bye-bye.